Imagine a world where the long-lost giants of the past are no longer confined to history books or museum exhibits. What if science could bring them back to life? Sounds thrilling, doesn't it? But here's the catch. What happens when these resurrected creatures disrupt ecosystems that have evolved without them for centuries? That's exactly what's at stake as Colossal Biosciences, a Texas-based biotech firm, sets its sights on New Zealand with plans to de-extinct the moa, a massive flightless bird wiped out around 600 years ago. The implications of this bold experiment raise critical questions about conservation, cultural identity, and humanity's role in shaping nature. New Zealand is no stranger to ecological battles. Nestled at the edge of the world, this island nation has spent decades defending its fragile ecosystems against invasive species introduced by humans. Visitors arriving in New Zealand face rigorous biosecurity checks. Beagles sniff out forbidden items like fruits, seeds, and meats, while border agents meticulously sanitize camping gear to prevent contamination. On a grander scale, the government's Predator-Free 2050 initiative aims to eradicate all non-native predators by mid-century, allowing native flora and fauna to flourish once again. As Air New Zealand cheerfully reminds passengers before landing, this fragile place is all we've got. And indeed, the stakes couldn't be higher. Before human arrival, New Zealand was a paradise for flightless birds like the kakapo and kiwi, with the only native mammal being a bat. When the Māori settled roughly 800 years ago, they inadvertently set off an ecological chain reaction by introducing dogs and rats. Later, European settlers compounded the damage, importing possums for fur, rabbits for sport, and stoats to control the burgeoning rabbit population, a decision that proved disastrous. Stoats, ferret-like predators, wreak havoc on bird populations, destroying entire nests in one go. Even seemingly harmless creatures like hedgehogs contribute to the problem. The Department of Conservation labels them as our most underrated predator, capable of decimating colonies of endangered black-fronted terns. Collectively, these invaders have caused a staggering loss of biodiversity, with nearly half of New Zealand's vertebrate species vanishing since human settlement. Today, invasive animals pose an ongoing threat. Possums alone consume an estimated 21,000 tons of vegetation each night, depleting resources for native wildlife. Meanwhile, predators kill approximately 25 million birds, chicks, and eggs annually. In response, communities across New Zealand have rallied behind initiatives like Predator-Free 2050, deploying thousands of traps and creating eco-sanctuaries to protect vulnerable ecosystems. In Dunedin, a city on the South Island, volunteers, including myself, have joined forces to combat possums, rats, hedgehogs, and stoats. Since 2018, over 6,300 traps have been deployed, eliminating more than 50,000 individual predators. It's grueling work, involving muddy hikes and endless trap checking. But the results are promising. Native birds like kararoo and tui are returning to urban areas, signaling hope for a brighter future. Despite these victories, the path to a predator-free 2050 remains long and arduous. Against this backdrop of hard-fought progress, Colossal Biosciences' announcement feels both audacious and unsettling. This is the same company that garnered headlines and controversy for its attempts to revive the Ice Age dire wolf, thanks in part to funding from Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin. Now, with backing from Sir Peter Jackson, director of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Colossal claims it can resurrect the moa using genetic engineering techniques. Their vision includes editing the genes of close relatives like the emu or tinamou to create a hybrid creature resembling the ancient moa. According to their promotional materials, this project isn't just about science. It's about restoring hope, empowering conservation efforts, and reconnecting Māori people with a vital piece of their cultural heritage. But let's pause for a moment. Is this really conservation, or something else entirely? Critics argue that Colossal's approach oversimplifies the complexities of de-extinction. For instance, the so-called dire wolves produced by the company were merely gray wolves with 20 gene edits designed to mimic certain traits of their prehistoric counterparts. Similarly, the proposed moa would not be a true clone, but rather a genetically engineered chimera. Calling such a creation a moa stretches the boundaries of scientific integrity. If I painted my cat orange and called it a tiger, would anyone believe me? Moreover, introducing a genetically modified bird into New Zealand's delicate ecosystems carries significant risks. While Colossal insists the moas will remain enclosed in a controlled environment, accidents happen. Consider the havoc wreaked by smaller invasive species like hedgehogs. Now imagine a bird the size of an emu crashing through native forests, consuming plants and insects, and potentially destabilizing entire ecosystems. Could this lab-created hybrid become yet another invasive species, competing with or even preying on native wildlife? Then there's the question of cultural relevance. Colossal Biosciences frames the moa's return as a gift to Māori communities, emphasizing partnerships with institutions like the Ngāi Tahu Research Centre. However, Māori make up nearly 18% of New Zealand's population, and not everyone shares the same perspective on de-extinction. Many Māori live in urban areas, facing pressing social issues like housing insecurity and health disparities. Does reviving the moa hold the same significance for them today as it did centuries ago, when it provided sustenance and materials for tools and ornaments? Drawing parallels between modern Māori identity and the moa seems as misguided as suggesting that all Americans feel a deep connection to extinct animals like the flat-headed peccary. As our planet hurtles toward its sixth mass extinction, nostalgia for lost species is understandable. Who wouldn't want to turn back time and undo the damage wrought by centuries of environmental neglect? De-extinction offers a tantalizing illusion, a magical reset button that sidesteps the painstaking work of traditional conservation. But here's the uncomfortable truth. There's no shortcut to saving what remains. Instead of chasing fantastical solutions, we must double down on proven strategies like trapping predators, replanting native vegetation, and strengthening biosecurity measures. These efforts may lack the glamour of genetic wizardry, but they're essential for preserving the natural treasures we still have. So what do you think? Should we embrace de-extinction as a bold new frontier in conservation? Or does it risk opening Pandora's box? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.